Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Mystic podcast, and I'm your host Rahul N Singh. Thank you very much for taking out the time today to either watch or listen to the podcast episode. So today, I don't really have an agenda to speak upon. I was going to record an episode about the Law of Attraction Part 2, but I'm busy with work, so I haven't had that free time to just look at it and the free mind to just kind of focus on that. But I thought it might be good just to see whatever comes up in this moment. And one of the greatest things I find about YouTube is that we get to see different speakers from different traditions. We even have people in non-duality who have a wide variety of thoughts and feelings and teachings and non-teachings. And all that is very, very important for us to have conversations, for us to understand deeper insights and to gain more from each other. The concern that can happen is one that I speak about a lot, and it's the spiritual ego. I have to constantly check with myself that there is no spiritual ego that comes up. And it's easy for the spiritual ego to come up. If you think you are better than everyone, if you think you have a higher realization than someone, if you think that you're more enlightened than the next person, all these things are spiritual ego. And the essence of spirituality is very simple. It's just simply, understanding the certain values that an enlightened person should have. Now, these values, again, are going to differ from tradition to tradition, and that's fine. That was really hard to say. But like in the Advaita Vedanta, I think the Bhagavad Gita really defines it very clearly. And so I've been thinking, we started the Vedanta Sara series and we'll continue with that soon. And that's just to kind of get to know the basics. And I think that once you know the basics, once you start, observing your mind more, observing your senses more, seeing where your senses go, controlling how your senses go, when you do all that work, the uprising of the spiritual ego seems to be relatively slim. And the reason for that is because the work has been done. And spiritual ego only comes up when the ego still has some superiority or inferiority complex, and to kind of mask that, it will say, I'm humbler than the next person. Like, that's very, very humble to say that. Or when someone says, oh, I have no ego, I'm just like, sit down, it's okay. Let's put extra salt in their meal and see if it creates a reaction. And for a truly enlightened person, there will be no reaction. I recall a story of when my guru traveled to they traveled to different like villages in India, like small villages, really remote areas. And once somebody offered some fruit, and the fruit was very kind of bitter. Now my guru ate all of the bitter fruit, and everyone was like, why is he eating all the fruit? And that particular one. And later on, it was found there's just a little piece of fruit was left. So the person whose house my guru went to, when they tried that fruit, they realized how bitter it was, and they didn't see any and my guru refused to give that to everyone else. He said, let me have it, it's okay. And these little things, and there's countless examples from other gurus too. I'm not gonna say, oh, it's only in my tradition. No, I'm sure there's examples of this in other traditions too. But it's just, these are the little things that sometimes we don't we don't observe. Now, yes, if I go to a Michelin star restaurant, I'm going to expect Michelin star food. That's an expectation of a service, right? So, but should one become a Karen about it? No. There's no need to become a Karen if your expectations aren't met. And if you have expectations, my guru used to say so many times, and it's so true. If you have expectations, you're going to be disappointed. And that's the one thing I've learned is, do not have expectations from anyone or anything. Keep yourself free from that. Keeps you undisturbed for a while. And whatever doesn't disturb the ego, that's good. But we certainly have expectations, of course. But we don't have to always adhere to those expectations or get worked up. It's one of the things I've been working on a lot. Just letting things be, and just going with the flow, and not getting worked up. Challenging, and especially when you're a young father. Well, I say young, but like a father, and you have to juggle so many things at the same time. Understanding that how you are is going to be observed, and so it's always best to be very mindful of how one conducts oneself. Spiritual ego, man, it can be devastating if you ever get it, and it's so subtle. I remember I can recall times when I had spiritual ego, for sure. I can recall times. I'll give a classic example. I used to look down on people who used to do Murti Puja. I actually used to look down on them, and I used to think that what they're doing is really silly. And now I have a different opinion. Now I'm just like, I know what that Murti represents. It's different. So now there's no anger or agitation about it, or I'm higher. Like, there's no spiritual like ego that comes in. Like, there's this humility that, okay, I know what they're worshipping, and I know what it represents. Maybe they don't. Majority of people may not know. Maybe they do. But who am I to judge that they don't know? And so these are things we get to learn about ourselves, and we improve. And that's the whole point of spirituality, is improving. And when we can get to the height of true realization, we will gain so much. So when we get to that realization that everything is one, there is great centered peace in that, stillness, and there's no higher or lower, boring or interesting. Life simply is being life, and that's pretty cool. So anyway, let's see what I do tomorrow. I don't even know, taking each day as it comes. But on the I forgot the day, I think the 17th onwards, 17th to the 4th, there will be no podcast episodes unless I record some while I'm on holiday, which most likely may not happen. I'm not sure, because I'm not taking any of my camera or my mics or anything like that. So it'd be simply just, if it is, it's going to be really bad quality, and I don't really want to risk the quality unless I take a different mic with me, which I may do now. thinking about it, a smaller one. But yeah, anyway, take care, and do look after yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Namaste.